We have, I believe it's 3 now law enforcement officials who've been murdered in the last week or so, the last couple of weeks. And last Friday on the TV show, I had a half-hour conversation. Our Conversations with the Great Minds. You can see it over at conversationswiththegreatminds.com with a fellow who wrote a book about the FBI's infiltration of the Muslim community and how, in many cases, they're basically setting up people who had perhaps the motive, but certainly not the means or the opportunity to do anything, and they provided that. And I mean, that was a piece of the book. The larger part of the book is that, you know, we really do want the FBI to be keeping an eye out. I mean, the FBI arguably had enough information between the FBI and CIA that they could have put a stop to what turned out to be the 9/11 attacks if they had just been communicating well and you know, without replowing that ground. I don't think that there's anybody in the United States who doesn't think that the FBI should be, you know, doing their job, should be looking into this kind of stuff, except conservatives. Back in April of 2009, remember this? This was, you know, month 3 of the Obama administration, month 4, and the Department of Homeland Security releases a report titled, quote, "Right-wing extremism, current economic and political climate fueling resurgence in radicalization and recruitment," end quote. Now this followed by a couple of months a similar report on left-wing activities, but this one detailed the rise of right-wing, which nobody said a word about. It's like, yeah, okay, you got these people putting nails in trees and you know, doing vandalism and set a car dealership on fire, a Hummer dealership, as I recall, and that kind of thing. But this report detailed the rise in right-wing extremist activity in the United States, and in fact said that they included, quote, "groups and individuals that are dedicated to a single issue such as opposition to abortion or immigration," end quote. In fact, they clearly defined what they were all about. They said, quote, "Homeland Security Office of Intelligence and Analysis defines, quote, subquote, right-wing extremism in the United States as including not just racist or hate groups, but also groups that reject federal authority in favor of state or local authority," end quote. In other words, the Tenthers, the so-called Patriot movement, the so-called militia movement. Now, this report was solid. It was factual. It was matter of fact. It was an honest attempt by the Department of Homeland Security to start a discussion about a very real homegrown terrorist threat. And because of that, conservatives went insane. I mean, John Boehner just got, it was like, somebody opened a fire hose. He had this tsunami of calls and emails from viewers of Fox News who are all hysterical about this, listeners to right-wing talk radio, readers of right-wing websites. Oh my God, what are they doing? They're look at spy, right? And so in a very public statement, John Boehner came out and demanded that the Department of Homeland Security Chief, Janet Napolitano, provide, his words now, an explanation for why she has abandoned using the term terrorist to describe those such as Al-Qaeda who are plotting overseas to kill innocent Americans, while her own department is using the same term to describe American citizens who disagree with the direction Washington Democrats are taking our nation. Whoop. Pass me another cigarette, please. End of quote. The report, probably another martini. The report received so much heat from the right that Napolitano was forced to withdraw it. Although that similar report on left-wing extremism, radical, violent environmentalists, for example, no similar rebuke, was not withdrawn. Nobody was all hysterical about it. So while kids like Aaron Schwartz faced decades in jail, or at least he did before he killed himself, right-wing extremist groups have apparently been overlooked by our federal government. So it probably shouldn't come as that much of a surprise when gun-toting members of far-right extremist groups start coming out of the woodwork and murdering government officials. I mean, after all, you got the language out there. You've you hear callers to this program all the time. I got to have my guns and to take on an oppressive government. Well, how do you do that? Well, you shoot somebody. Saturday night before Easter, Texas District Attorney Mike McClellan and his wife Cynthia were shot to death in their Kaufman County, Texas home. They were the latest victims of a recent string of shootings of government and law enforcement officials. In fact, I think you could track this back. It's kind of started with Gabby Giffords. And it's got an eerie echo of another time when we had a lot of assassinations of government officials in this country that started with Jack Kennedy and ended with Martin Luther King. The deaths of McClellan and his wife come just 2 months after Kaufman County Assistant District Attorney was shot and killed, which led to suspicions that law enforcement officials were being targeted by a white supremacist group. And authorities are now looking into whether or not McClellan's slaying is related to the shooting deaths of Tom Clemens, who's the guy who ran the Colorado prisons. He was apparently shot and killed by a member of a white supremacist group just a few weeks ago. So we don't know yet all the details of the McClellan shooting. I mean, it just happened the day before yesterday. But the Denver Post reported this past Thursday that the gun used to shoot and kill Clemens was bought by a straw purchaser. Clemens' killer, a guy by the name of Evan Ebel, was a white supremacist gang member and felon who was barred under federal law from purchasing and possessing a gun. So Ebel had 22-year-old Stevie Marie Vigil go to a gun store for him and legally purchase the gun that he used to kill Clemens. It's called using a straw purchaser. This is one of the most common ways criminals get their hands on guns. Why? Because straw purchasers almost never go to jail. According to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, what we used to call the ATF, they say straw purchasing of guns is the single most common method by which firearms move between the legal and illegal market. When the guns are outlawed, only criminals will have guns. Well, no. Turns out straw purchasers are the ones who give the guns to the criminals. 46%, this is from the ATF, 46% of guns related to illegal gun trafficking, straw purchasers. And when they do get caught, like in the case of Stevie Marie Vigil, the penalties are nothing, extremely weak. Speaking about the Clemens murder case, Brad Bayersdorf, a spokesman for the ATF in Denver, told the Denver Post, quote, "There's little to no punishment for being a straw purchaser. Gang members know it. Drug trafficking organizations know it." End of quote. So how do we fix this? Well, A, I think we need to strengthen our laws against straw purchasers. And B, let's start treating guns like cars. Had Stevie Marie Vigil purchased a cheap used car for a 14-year-old boy and given him the keys, and then that young man had killed someone, she would be facing manslaughter, accessory to manslaughter charges in almost every state. We need to register guns, insure guns, and license gun owners. It's the same thing we do with cars. Yeah, but your right to have guns in the Constitution says your right to have a car. Implicitly. Article 1, Section 8, Sentence 7 of the U.S. Constitution gives Congress the right to raise taxes and spend money to create roads. Time to wise up.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
And time to seriously start looking at these right-wing groups that are operating in the United States that represent, I think, more of a threat to us than Al-Qaeda.